Hi there, my name's Lauren and I've been a volunteer with the DYS since 2016. This week I'm going to be talking to you about fandom. Why should we care about Jesus? So, I don't know about you guys, but I really like music, and when I take an interest in a musician or a band, I like to know a little bit about them. It's not necessarily just their music, so I might like the fact that they play their own instruments, or like, for example, I really like Take That, and their shows are absolutely incredible when you go and see them live. So yeah, you start to know a bit more about them as a person and then things like that. But when you're talking about Jesus, it's more about the things he did or the things he said. So this week we're going to look at who Jesus was specifically and why so many people are committed to being his followers. Personally, I think this is the most important reason why we should be following Jesus. So he did so many amazing things. He performed miracles, he healed the sick, he made people see or walk again, which they hadn't been able to. And he literally healed people of the most horrible diseases. He was kind to everyone, even people that society had cast aside. For example, sinners and, people that other people didn't bother with. And that's really important, and I think that's something everything and everyone should look to in their everyday lives. Take time out for the people who necessarily aren't considered much in society. So obviously Jesus did a whole load of things through his ministry and life, and we learn about these through the Gospels. So when we use the Bible at church and for prayer, it also is considered a legitimate resource for information. So it's easy to kind of look to it as a guide for how to live and the examples that should be setting. So the Bible is broken down into two sections, which you probably already know: the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament books were sacred to the Jewish faith and were written before Jesus was born, whereas the New Testament was written after Jesus was born. And 4 of the books, which are the Gospels, which are Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, follow eyewitness accounts for Jesus' life. The fact that the 4 Gospel accounts do not match perfectly doesn't mean in any way that they're not true. It's just a different interpretation, or people were there for different events. For example, when you're at school and something happens, you're not going to tell the story exactly the same because you might use different words, or you might have seen different aspects of the event, that sort of thing. So it's important to remember that when reading the Gospels. Also, the books of the New Testament were written as early as 40 AD to 100 years after Jesus' death. So things could maybe be slightly, not exaggerated, but just written differently. And it's different because it's harder to kind of tell the full account of something so long after it's happened. So that's important to remember as well. So in the Bible, I think we're really lucky because we don't just have kind of God's word to take for it. We have loads of gospel witnesses. So these are people like, Paul and the disciples and anyone who kind of witnessed what Jesus was doing. So people that can kind of back up saying that he was the Son of God and we should care about what he said and did. So also, Jesus continues to impact the world today, not because he's an unimportant historical figure, which he is, but because he is God and his life reveals who God was and the miracles that he produced. Thirdly, Jesus promises remarkable things to those who choose to follow him, and he shows what it means to live a full and holy life. So I have some questions for you that you can maybe write down in a journal or just think about over the next week. Maybe you could ask some of your friends or family members them too. So the first one: do you consider yourself a disciple or follower of Jesus, and why? The second one is: what difference does this make to your life? And thirdly, what would you say to Jesus? And thirdly, what would you say to Jesus if he were to ask you, who do you say that I am? And that's maybe a bit trickier. And I've got a bonus question for you as well.
If you could receive a VIP seating for any concert, which concert would it be? Personally, I would love to see Maroon 5 because they're the only band that I really like that I haven't seen in concert yet. I've got a weekly challenge for you as well. Choose an apostle to be your patron this week. Ask them to pray for you every morning as you learn to be a follower of Jesus. And what can you find out about them? Maybe they've got some cool and interesting facts that you can investigate. Thanks, guys.